everyone is doing well. Thank you, everyone, for coming and joining us on this Friday night. And welcome to tonight's Friday Forum. Alhamdulillah, tonight we have a very special Friday Forum with our brother Ahmad Fahmy, who is the founder of 114, which is a very unique and a very inspiring event. And he'll talk a little bit more, inshallah, more about it a little bit more, inshallah. And today's topic will be about conquering your nafs. Before we get started, just a couple of announcements. There's a few programs going on in the next couple of weeks. Just wanted to give everybody some information about them. Tomorrow there's going to be a lecture by Sheikh Qatanani, ICPC Patterson. The topic is going to be the godly women. It will be tomorrow in ICPC Patterson at 10:30 a.m. inshallah. And tomorrow we also have the monthly unfiltered session with Sheikh Ismail and Dr. Munir Hamda. It'll be tomorrow at Masjid Yunus at 8:30 p.m. inshallah. And not this Sunday, but the following Sunday, we have we are starting back our hikes. It'll be in Ramapur Reservation in Mawa with Ammu Fikri, and we're going to try to see if Ahmad can also join us for that hike. So all that information is available on the ICPC website, so please check it out for more information. So with that, we'll get started with the topic. Like I said, today's topic, we have a very special guest with us, brother Ahmad Fahmy, and he'll be discussing more about how we conquer our nafs. So with that, I will pass it to brother Ahmad.
Assalamu alaikum. So they know about Slido?
Oh yeah, so on the Slido.
By the way, you told me not to mention it.
I know, and I forgot.
Right,
sorry.
No
so as usual, we have the Slido app. Feel free to ask any questions, and we'll sure to get to those during this lecture. We will try to get to the questions that are most liked. So as you guys see the questions, feel free to like them, and we'll select and we'll look at the most liked questions, inshallah.
Does everyone have that? Good? All right. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي اللهم آت نفوسنا تقواها وزكها أنت خير من زكاها أنت وليها ومولاها اللهم لا تكلنا إلى أنفسنا طرفة عين أو أقل من ذلك. So before I start, I don't know if anyone knows who I am. I'm Ammu Fikri. I left New Jersey about he's Ammu Fikri. I'm Ammu Fikri's son. I'm the one who lives far away and runs a lot. I actually left New Jersey about 20 years ago now, my wife and I. And but this still feels like home court. Still, no matter how long I'm gone, this still feels, like home. So I'm also really honored and humbled to be here, to be amongst you. I'm humbled that you take the time to listen to me, and inshallah, I hope and pray that I give you something of value. You're mostly used to my brother, and so you'll have to lower your expectations by about 20 to 50%. Okay, so today's discussions around conquer your nafs. If you know 114, which I'll get to towards the end of the talk, you'll know our slogan is conquer your nafs. But we haven't really ever delved into what do we mean by conquer your nafs. And that's the point of today, is to really discuss what the slogan means. And I hope you appreciate the time I took to create the 3D 114 logo there. Okay, a couple of things. Like I said, I left New Jersey in 2006, almost 20 years ago. I've had multiple chapters in my life. And if you listen to my last talk about a year ago, I talked about the different chapters and kind of my journey that brought me here. But today, I want to focus mostly on the Istanbul chapter. So not the London, not the New Jersey, not the fitness stuff so much, but really what I've learned by being surrounded by pretty incredible people in Istanbul. Like I said, I'm not my brother. This is not a scholarly work, although I did check some of the definitions with Sheikh Osama to make sure that I don't end up clipped on YouTube. But this is my understanding of some of these concepts. But more importantly, what I'm going to take you later is my own journey with these concepts. So this is part theoretical, but mostly my own journey with these ideas. And I have to say in the outset, I actually felt uncomfortable doing this talk because I didn't want to seem like an authority figure. I struggle with almost everything I'm going to talk about. So much so that the imposter syndrome was so great, I was thinking of canceling this talk. So, you know, people say this is for me first and foremost before you. No, this is just for me. And so I don't want you to think that I've arrived at some of these things. So I just needed to give you that sort of warning. So for this particular talk, my intention is I want to explore the topic of the nafs. What is it and how does it interact with the body, the mind, and most importantly, the heart? And how do you know the state of your nafs and the state of your heart? So I'm hoping to give you some ideas that will tell you how you can understand your current state of your nafs and the current state of your heart. And I hope I hope you don't feel what I feel when I did this in Istanbul, which is despair, but rather almost like a call to action. And I'm hoping to give you some practical things that I've learned along the way. But my intention for this talk, to sum up, is to really put the nafs front and center. One of the things, I went to Ghazali most of my life, and when you ask most people, what's the negative force that's impacting us, what do you think most people answer? What's the negative force that most impacts us? Shaitan. And that's what I grew up. And then Ramadan, shaitan goes away and we should magically be good and all of these things. That is not the real enemy. The shaitan is almost like a tertiary enemy. Your real enemy, and the thing that I'm hoping that you take away from this, is your actual nafs. And so the term jihad al-nafs, where does that come? The real struggle comes from your nafs. So my intention is that you understand who your real enemy is, and the enemy is actually within, not without. Okay, so I want to just, before I go into the practical aspects and aspects of my journey, define what I mean by some of these terms. So what is the nafs? The nafs is a force within us, within every one of us, that basically will drive us down unless we tame it. It knows everything about us. It has knowledge of us, how we tick and how we don't tick, etc. And it has three states. The nafs itself has three states. The lower nafs, the nafs al-ammara, the nafs al-lawama, and the nafs al-mutma'inna. There's three states to your nafs. But for the majority of us, it is the force that's driving us down. Opposite to it, there's the ruh. And we don't know much about the ruh, but we do know that it is something of Allah that's blown into us. And I remember when I first heard this in Turkey, and I've heard this before, that, وَنَفَخْنَا فِيهِ مِن رُوحِنَا, and this concept of that Allah has breathed this ruh into us. I never sat with this idea that we have something that is almost immutable, pure, that lives in every single one of us. And that's the ruh. And it is the very force that was breathed into us, and it is the fundamental reason that the malaika were ordered to prostrate before Adam. This thing in us that we don't understand of Allah, tashrifan. And sometimes we don't think how honored we are to have this force within us. So we have this guiding light inside of us. And an opposite, like pulling us up, an opposite, you have the nafs pulling you down. And the battleground is the heart. So you can imagine the battleground between the nafs and the ruh is the heart. And it is that which we will be judged by. And it is that we either cleanse in this heart, the heart will either cleanse it in this world, or it will be cleansed for us before entering paradise. So the nafs is this force that's pouring you down and pulling you down, and the ruh has this light within us. Now, the extent to which your heart is diseased I mean, think of your heart as like a vessel. The extent to which your heart is diseased is the extent to which you can receive the light of the ruh. So a diseased heart, deaf, dumb, and blind, cannot really receive the light of the ruh. So know that you have multiple forces in this sort of physical and spiritual anatomy. And the heart is the battleground. And you spend your life trying to purify your heart. Now the mind, how does the mind have to do with all this? Your mind is what rationalizes everything. It rationalizes good, it rationalizes evil. It is the reason that, one of the reasons, Iblis, what was Iblis's rationale in that moment when Allah told him to bow down to Adam because of the ruh that was put into Adam? What was Iblis's rationale? He had a rationale why he couldn't prostrate.
He was created from fire.
Yes, he thought it was better for him. Why? Because rationally speaking, he was created from fire and Adam was created from clay. So your mind, like your heart, like your nafs, can either work for you or against you. It is the thing that rationalizes. I remember when my father took us to high school in Egypt because his sons were too weak. So he decided he's going to take us to high school for 1 year in Egypt, the hardest year, by the way. And I was in Ghazali my whole life, really cocooned in Ghazali. I don't know what Ghazali is like now, but back then it was very cocooned. You know, like I didn't even speak to my wife until I asked for her, and we both went to Ghazali. It was very, very like separated during that time. And a guy was like, I held a girl's hand. I was like, that's haram. So I was telling him that's haram. He said, no, it's not. She wanted to hold my hand. So it makes that halal, right? It came from her, not from me. So the mind can rationalize anything, right? And like anything else, it can work for you and against you. The body has the inputs, and we'll get into that later. And the shaitan comes in two forms. And it's, subhanAllah, if you pay attention to the Quran, usually the shaitan al-ins comes before the shaitan al-jinn that we don't see. And like I said, the shaitan is not the central character of the story. The central character of the story is the nafs. And that's sort of what I want to hopefully persuade you. The importance of the nafs and knowing your enemy. So that's just some terminology before I start. Nafs, heart, ruh. And again, sit with this idea that the ruh, something of Allah, is in each and every one of us here. There's 100 people, there is that light that sits inside of all of us. And the extent to which we can see and feel that light is the extent of the cleanliness of our heart. It's a really powerful idea when I think about it. Okay, now I'm going to take you. Tfaddal. Sure.
Can you give us some English equal word?
Yes.
I know root can be soul.
Okay, I'll try.
And nafs.
Okay. I'll do that. Yes. Okay. So the nafs, I tried to actually look into this. The nafs has multiple different English terminology. Some call it the ego. Some call it the lower self. Those are the two most common close things to the nafs. But there's no perfect translation to these things. But in Western canon, it's usually the ego or the lower self. But the reason I don't like the lower self is that I believe the nafs can be tamed to actually be a positive force in your life. And the best way I can think of, the way I think of the self, the nafs, is exactly the way I think of my children. Now they want everything now. I want it now. I want your phone now. Phone. Baba, please, my phone. Give me the phone, Baba. Please. And if you either put guardrails around them, raise them, tame them, and then they can become positive members of society. The nafs is exactly the same way. It's a screaming toddler that you either tame or it will drive you crazy for the rest of your life. Yes. The heart or the qalb, of course, we're not talking about the physical heart here. We're talking about the spiritual heart, although there's a lot of parallels between the spiritual heart and the physical heart. um, even the ideas of heart disease that you suffer from. Ruh or soul, mind, aql, body, shaitan, Satan. Does that answer your question? Inshallah. Okay. Can you all see this? My daughter Salafa drew them. She took my original slides and redrew them. So good job. Okay, so my journey did not begin with soul and ruh and all of these things. My journey to all of this began through physical pursuits. That's how this whole thing began for me in 2008. And back then, I was a very unhealthy person, very stressed and anxious, working in an investment bank in London. And that's the beginning of the whole thing. Right? And the way I want you to think about these diagrams is there's something in, for those in university or past university, idea called systems thinking. Your mind and body and your whole body is a system, and it has variables. So for example, if I was to say, if you want to become physically very healthy, if that's the most important thing to you, that you want to be physically in great shape, feel very good, I'm going to say there's 3 fundamental variables you should be thinking about. This is from my own personal experience, it's not from YouTubing. This is my own personal experience, and for those who don't know, I've done a lot of, I think some of you have attended my last talk. I've done multiple things like running in the Sahara and running 100 kilometers and things like that. And so physical health has become very important to me. Although I was very unhealthy when I started, couldn't run 1 mile, let alone 65 miles and things like that. But there's 3 variables that I've learned over the past 18 years of being sort of taking myself and doing endurance athletics. Number 1 is sleep quality. All right? We're going to get to the Nafs in a second, but I just want to take you through my personal journey through all of this. So number 1 is sleep quality, right? It all starts there for me. Now, you cannot directly flip a switch and change any of these variables. Like, you cannot flip a switch or take a pill and become physically healthy. It doesn't work that way. You cannot flip a switch and just become, or take a medication and just improve your sleep quality. Also doesn't work that way. These are meant to be variables: exercise quality, nutrition quality, and sleep quality. You cannot flip a switch and just improve any of them. Despite quick fixes and all of these things, those are not dials you directly control. These are meant, as my daughter has drawn for me, to represent dials. If you want to improve sleep quality, what do you do with caffeine intake? What? What? You said drink?
Decrease it.
Oh, drink. Oh, no.
Decrease
For the
it.
majority of us, no, not drink. No, yeah, okay. I'm Egyptian, doesn't work for me. Basically, for me personally, I have to reduce. So think of these as dials you actually control that impact these variables. Consistent sleep time, same time every day, every night. Sleep every night, wake up every morning. Light stimulation. Are you looking at your phones before you sleep? So these are variables you directly control that can influence sleep quality. Now, exercise quality. Weights. Do you lift weights? Yes? Do you progressively overload? Do you put higher and higher weights? Or no? Do you do interval training, running, and do you do zone 2 cardio? Do you go for long walks at low heart rate? These things impact exercise quality. These are the 3 things I do. And then nutrition. Macros, you eat enough protein, all of the things you see on YouTube. Do you eat whole foods or do you eat lots of synthetic foods? Are you in a calorie deficit? Do you eat every single day less than you need? These are all dials you control. Now, if you turn most of the dials to the right, over a long enough period of time, what happens? You become physically fit. I hope this was a representation of me. No? But if you do this for a long period of time, you get physically fit. Now, if you turn the dial to the other way, over a long period of time, what happens? Do this for 20, 30 years, what happens? Yes, inshallah. You can live for another 20 years, you can be healthy. What's the chances you get heart disease? We're talking about the physical heart disease, not the spiritual heart disease, which we'll come to. How do you think you'll feel? You'll feel great. Most likely, your body will be resilient. You're not going to get sick. So there's a lot of benefits. Now, the nafs. What does the nafs want? When it looks at these things, like phones and stuff before you go to sleep, constant sleep time, caffeine intake, working out, running, eating less than you need, eating whole foods, not having any refined sugars, no Ben and Jerry's. What does the nafs want? The nafs wants the opposite. The nafs wants you to be a loser. You are fighting every time you try to put the dial to the right. What does the nafs want? What? It wants you it wants the dial to the left. It wants you to eat more. It wants you to sleep later. Why should I sleep late? Why should I sleep so late? Why should I sleep early? Netflix. The nafs wants what it wants now. It wants dopamine. It wants sugar. It wants the screen. The nafs wants what it wants now. That's what you have to understand. And we live in the perfect world for the nafs. These algorithms that are delivering dopamine. It's amazing. We don't live here, but you have Instacart here. You want Ben and Jerry's? Ben and Jerry's comes. There's no friction between you and dopamine in this country. So the nafs wants what it wants now, but for you to get this, what do you have to do to the nafs? What? You have to beat it up, you have to resist it. Now what's interesting, I'll tell you, and this is not to show off or anything, but this is to tell you again my authentic, because I'm going to tell you the bad stuff about me in the next couple of slides. Almost all of these things, I have no desire for. After eating and exercising this way for 18 years, I'm like, okay, fine, I'll eat dessert. By the way, if you knew me 20 years ago, my middle names were Ben and Jerry. But after denying my nafs, this nafs that was pulling me down, now actually, I don't have almost any desire for these things. And so the point there is that the nafs can be tamed when it comes to these things. In the beginning, it's just, I can't believe is that a lollipop? Okay, so I'm giving this whole conversation while eating a lollipop? All right. Okay. It's like enjoying my talk about nafs and while eating a lollipop. Wonderful. All right. So the thing here in the beginning, when I started my journey in 2008, I hated running. I didn't want to work out. My favorite time of day was at night, so I can decompress watching something on the internet, Netflix or whatever, while eating Ben and Jerry's. My nafs hated almost every aspect of this. Right? But now, if you keep the dial, if you let the nafs win, you're going to feel like crap, you'll look like crap, and then towards the end of your life, the ending will most likely be crap. That's the cost. You turn the dial to the right, you fight the nafs, you'll feel good, you'll look good, and inshallah, at the end of your life, you'll avoid what's called the 4 horsemen. So this is the physical aspect of things. The next chapter of my life, before again I went to Istanbul, was mental health, the anxiety of dealing with work, the constant anxiety, so much going on. Same thing, this is again, there's many variables, but these are the variables that actually resonated with me. The quality of the relationships, the information diet, and communal service. These 3 variables are what impacted my mental health the most. And so if you start with information diet, I think of information, what goes into my eyes and ears, the same way I think of what goes into my mouth. So I track macros, for example, 170 grams of protein, so that's quality, how much whole foods, how much fat, how much sugar. Then at one point, thinking, I wonder what my macros are in terms of the information I take. How much of it is social media? How much is it Netflix? How much is high quality whole food information versus easy dopamine? And this, again, the algorithm is fighting you. Like, if you think of every content you consume, how much of it, what's the quality of the content? How much is it junk content, junk food versus high quality content? And beyond that, I started asking myself a question. How much time do I spend producing content versus consuming content? If there's a pie chart, how much do I actually produce content in terms of writing, speeches, whatever, and then how much do I just consume? And in the consumption, what's the quality of information I'm taking? And I don't mean I listen to a documentary on Netflix. I mean actually learning, attending lectures, like actual deep learning of a subject, right? So the dials, again, the information macros, how much time I'm spending deep learning, like actually learning something. Creating versus consuming. These are dials I control. Communal service. This is something that has impacted my own sort of mental health. How much am I benefiting society, family? How much am I working on myself? Where are those dials? And then the quality of the relationships. Who's around me? Like a big reason we live in Istanbul is we're surrounded by just incredible people. The environment for myself and my children is an amazing community. The friends that we have, are they friends? Because by the way, sometimes the most positive friends are not the most fun friends. Like your nafs doesn't want you to hang out. Oh, come on. Right? And of course, the spouses, the dial on the spouses. I don't know what the dial on the spouses means exactly, but the quality of the spouse. And so, again, same thing applies. What does the nafs want in almost all of these things? The nafs wants the dial to the left. You have to fight the dial to the right. If the dial, now imagine you're just listening to crap, the quality of the relationships are terrible, you're not doing any community service. What do you think the state of your mental health is going to be? What do you think the state of your mental health is going to be? Right? So the majority of people start here, and a lot of people are suffering here. Right? This is the thing you don't see. And a lot of it has to come down to not conquering your nafs, the mental health. It is not just, it's a chemical imbalance and things like that. I'm not going to get into that. But, I believe that a lot of this comes down to the lack of conquering your nafs. The last slide. Are there any questions coming into Slido?
There's one question that talks about how do I protect myself from the haram urges of my nafs.
Okay, we'll get to that. All right. Now, we talked about your physical health and the slide and the different dials, the mental health and different dials. Now, this is the key thing. Because no matter how much we work out, this body's going to go. The thing that we're going to be judged is the heart health. And again, I don't mean the physical heart, I mean the spiritual heart. There's multiple inputs into the physical heart. And remember I said, if your heart is diseased and dark, you cannot get the light of the ruh. If the heart is diseased, remember we have this amazing force within every one of us that we should sit with that idea, that we walk around with. And that light will not penetrate if the heart is diseased. Now, a couple of things for me personally. It is much easier for me to do what I'm about to say if I physically feel good and I mentally feel good. Like to me, those are almost like for me personally, necessary preconditions. It is very hard for me to do what I'm about to describe if physically I feel like crap and mentally I feel like crap. And that's why I started with those things. And it almost sort of mirrors the journey I've been on of optimizing physical health, really working on mental health, and then the current chapter in Istanbul where I'm very lucky to be surrounded by people who are constantly talking about this heart health. Now, there's new inputs I've introduced. One of them is spiritual practices. Oh, salah, dhikr, all of these things. The amazing things about dhikr, like right now, while I'm talking, you just say astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah. While I'm giving the speech, you'll just be cleansing your heart, regardless of what you've done. The spiritual practices is what directly improves your heart so that you can receive these things. Now, of course, so what are the spiritual practices? The simple ones, of course, are salah and perfecting your salah. And there really is an art to salah and a practice. Always amazed by people who practice yoga and practice meditation and download apps, and they take it they call it a practice, something I practice. And we never think to practice salah. Like, what is the art of salah? It's just this thing my father made me do so I don't go to hell. And I'm 47, I'm still doing that. I'm praying quickly so I don't go to hell, right? But salah is a beautiful practice, a meditative practice. So the spiritual practices, fasting, salah, all of these things, are directly, imagine them as knobs, directly improve your heart. This is where your nafs will scream. I can convince you to skip Ben and Jerry's and some of these things to get in shape. I can convince people about the mental health because, you know what? There's the famous quote, the masses are walking in quiet desperation. A lot of people, myself included, suffer from different aspects of this. All right? So I can convince you. The thing that the nafs will scream about is working on the heart. And this is the thing will ultimately be judged. And again, I'm going to keep on saying it as a reminder to myself, the cleaner the heart, the more the ruh can penetrate. Again, I took from the other slides the mental and physical health because for me personally, to do what I'm about to say, my mind needs to be in the right place. I need to physically be in the right place. Now, there's 7 keys. The scholars say there's 7 keys to the heart. The ears, the S organs, you can complete the rest of the first, the mouth, the hands, the legs, and the stomach, and the eyes. These are the keys to the heart. And again, they are dials. How do you use your ears? What do you listen to? How do you use those organs, those sexual organs? How do you use your mouth? Is it in dhikr or backbiting? How do you use your hands? How do you use your legs? How do you use your stomach? Now, the shaitan comes to you through the ears. Waswasa. And again, there's 2 types of shaitan. Do you remember what they are? The jinn and the ins, or the ins and the jinn. So again, these are tertiary, that's how it comes into. Now, it comes into you through your ears. If you try to turn any of these dials, if you thought this was hard, you thought this was harder, this is going to be the hardest. This is where the shaitan is going to be the most active and your nafs will be the most active. But this is the game. These 2 were just the prequels. This is the game that I am currently suffering with. This is currently my jihad and nafs, doing these things. Right? I'm just going to check on time check. All right. I'll finish soon so we can have some questions. The heart is the king. If the king is corrupt, all the soldiers and limbs will act accordingly. But this is the one that scares me. The day when neither wealth nor children will benefit except one who comes to Allah with a sound heart. And a sheikh in Turkey once told me, and it still terrifies me, spend your life cleansing your heart, or your heart will be cleansed for you before you go to Jannah. You can read between the lines, but that was a terrifying thing for me to hear. Now, just quickly, if you're asking yourself, what is the state of my heart? What's the current state of my heart? You just have to ask yourself one question, because you don't know. I can easily tell you what the current state of anyone's physical health is. You can have blood tests, you can do VO2 max, you can just look at the person, you say that person's fit, that person's physically fit. Mental health, the state of the mental, how do you feel, how are you sleeping, are you anxious, how are you doing in school, your school, etc. Are you productive, are you producing, right? Or just consuming. So finding out the state of someone's mental health is harder, but not too hard. The question is, how do you find out the state of your heart? And it comes down to one question. This is from Imam al-Ghazali. I'm going to ask you the question, I want you to think about it. When are you most happy? Really, when are you most happy? Like, I am really happy right now. No, I'm not happy right now, but I am happy. But when are you most happy? If you think the past in general, when are you most happy? You don't have to answer. You can keep it. Do you want to answer? When are you most happy? Okay, mashallah, when you have the longest prostration. Yunus, honestly, when are you most happy? You have a lot of happy stuff, alhamdulillah. The true, go ahead. Yes, when we come to America after 24-month gap, okay. See, people love America. There you go. Now, if you're honest with yourself, when are you most happy? It'll tell you the state of your heart. Now, if you are most happy when you're eating ice cream, right? Yeah. Playing with your cousins, or in the case of adults, you're most happy when you're copulating, for example, and doing those things. The state of your heart, according to Imam al-Ghazali, is that of a bovine animal. You're a bahimi. It's bahimi. You're most happy when you're eating, sleeping, playing. Basically, according to him, you're basically a cow. Right? And then you work so you can do more. So you can do what? You can buy and do more of those things so that you can eventually go on vacation and do what?
Consume
more of those things.
Yeah.
And he likens that to a bahim, or is that a cow? All right, a cow. What? What's a behema? What? Okay, covers cows and donkeys and abroad. Okay, thank you, Baba. And so that's so if you're happiest when you're doing those things, like I cannot wait for the weekend, get some ice cream, watch this and play and all of these things, then your natural state is that of a cow or a donkey or a behema. Now, if some people go beyond that, they have those feelings, but they're happiest when they usurp and take other people's things. And this is called predatory. Predatory businesses, predatory practices. I'm not happy until I take your thing. I'm not happy, right? There are some people who are actually happiest when they're sowing deceit, backbiting, causing problems. He likens that to a shaitani heart. Like they actually are happy when they're causing problems between people. That is a shaitani. And then there are some people that are happiest when they're prostrating. They're happiest when they're close to Allah. They're happiest when they're learning. They're happiest when they're in spiritual activities. He likens that to an angelic heart. And of course, we all have dominant versions between the cow, the predatory, the predator, the shaitani, and the angelic. We have a dominant, but usually we're a mixture of all of them. And the whole point of this, so that's sort of telling you the state, and it's not in despair. Because I remember when I did this thought experiment in Turkey 8 years ago, I was like, okay, well, there's that then. It's meant to be a call to action. It's not meant to be, well, this is overwhelming. This is, again, where the term jihad al-nafs, this is the ultimate jihad. Okay, a couple of things before the questions. All right, so like I said, to master the body, the mind, the heart, you must conquer your nafs. No, it is your enemy. No, it is the primary enemy. Like raising a child, conquering your nafs is a journey. It's very, very difficult. I'm not going to raise him tonight, right? But nor can I succumb to every one of his whims. Baba, 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 baba. And for those who have children, you know that mama, mama, mama. That's the nafs. It does not give up until you give it what it wants, until you raise it to be beyond that. I'll say something about my wife. So she homeschooled the older two. The younger two she gave up and loved less. But she homeschooled the older two, right, when she had more energy. And she turned off, they had no access to any electronics. They only in the house had access to books and Legos and things like that, and she called it manufactured boredom. She did not allow them anything that the nafs wanted immediately, including sugar and things like that. And so over a long period of time, what happened with the older two? They had no choice but to read a book a night and things like that, right? And so think of your nafs like a toddler, like a screaming toddler that you have to tame. The algorithms surround us, work on the nafs, work on the dopamine systems. You have to understand that we are living in one of the most difficult times to do what I'm talking about. And you have to create algorithms and blueprints that do the opposite. Luckily for us, we have that. Once a year, we get to play with we get to try the algorithm. Do you know where that is? When do we get to try the algorithm?
Ramadan?
Ramadan. What's interesting, again, one of the things I learned in Turkey, is we think the shaitan has, I'll see people in WhatsApp groups say the shaitan has left the room. Like, okay, we're all great now. Why, knowing what you know now, why do you think Allah removes the shaitan in Ramadan? Not to test your nafs, so that you know the state of your nafs. If Allah has removed the waswasa, you are faced only with what? What remains in the equation is the state of your nafs. That is Ramadan. Ramadan is an incubator to try all of these things. And in some cases, you get the reward of feeling some of this. Like you've cleansed your heart enough that you get this special feeling of the ruh. I'll give you a story of an i'tikaf I made in Turkey, and I can tell you the i'tikaf in Turkey is the polar opposite of the i'tikaf here. There's no Dunkin' Donuts. It's the sheikh, I'll give you, the sheikh, he's like, we're gonna punish our nafs this i'tikaf. We're like, okay. He said, I'm not gonna allow you to turn on the air condition. No coffee, no tea, no juice. I want you every day to eat less until the end of Ramadan you're eating 2 dates a day. Everything that your nafs wants, you have to say no. So much so that the meeting before the i'tikaf, there was a bowl of strawberries. And he tasted it and he said, that's the best strawberry I've ever had. All I want is to eat another one, but I'm not going to eat another one. So it sounds torturous. But then he said, why do you think we do this? We eliminate some of what the nafs wants so that hopefully we can let some of this through. So he's eliminating the immediate dopamine of these things so that hopefully he can feel this. There's a thing I didn't mention, which is the environment. What I call your brine. You know brine? Your cucumber? Over a period of time, can the cucumber out-pickle the brine? Can the cucumber resist the brine? This is the interactive portion. No. No cucumber, no matter how fresh, can out-pickle. You're going to be... Curate your environment, your friends, who you spend time with, where you are. That helps all of what I'm talking about. If you're around fit people, you're going to be fit. You run with fast people, you're going to run faster. You're around people who talk about ideas. Like, oh, okay, Wala is here. Her husband is one of my oldest friends. If I'm with him, we're going to be talking about big ideas. Is he here? Oh. There we go. And there, he's right there. Who you're surrounded with really drives a lot of this stuff, the environment. Curating your environment is incredibly important. Who your children are surrounded with. You can try your best to raise them, and we try our best. It's the environment that raises them. What works against you, everything, your mind, your nafs, can also be trained to work for you. That's the beauty of all of these things. The flywheel may be spinning in one direction very fast. You can slow it down, it's very painful. But once you spin the flywheel in the other direction, it will also work for you. You can reverse the polarity. Another thing is learn to listen to your nafs. Learn to listen to your nafs. It will talk to you. And you can actually hear it talking to you, right? Like for example, how about this? In 114, which I'll talk about, we have a race called the cow, which I believe anyone can do. It is run 50 miles. Well, no, day one, you recite Surah Al-Baqarah in total, and the next day you run 50 miles. It's the highest level race we do. Do you hear the thoughts coming up in your mind right now? That's the nafs. A rational, right? I don't know, what are you talking about? You're going to get hurt, you know. And then the combination of the mind now rationalizing so the nafs has sent signals. No, 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 no. Then the mind will rationalize. I'll say, no, you're going to hurt yourself. You have no time for that. You have a family, you have kids, all this stuff, right? Learn to
I
listen.
think you scared them a little bit.
What?
50.
I'm
There
gonna-
are other races.
No, there are races, but I'm just
Yeah.
trying to do something big so that they can learn to hear your nafs. For a while, I used to journal my thoughts, and then I used to get them out of my mind so I can actually read them. Whenever you're leveling up, that's when your nafs really does not want you to. It will actually be the loudest. A couple of things. I talked about a lot of dials, and there's a lot more than that. Those are the dials that impact me the most. Start small with a couple of dials. I recommend personally every day Azkar al-Sabah, just as a daily practice. And don't listen to it. Read it. It's too easy to listen to these things. You know, I listen to Surah Al-Kahf. Read them. They don't take time. There's a lot more tactical when you read these things and actually just listening to them. Do something physical, even if it's 1 mile, even if it's going to the gym. Try to do, I suggest, something physical every day, but at the very least, once a week. I won't say remove all social media, but just remove it from your phone. Just remove, you've all have heard of intermittent fasting? Try intermittent fasting for your eyes and your ears. Allow yourself, in the window that you eat, that's the only window you're allowed to have YouTube and social media. So let's say you only eat from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. because you're intermittent fasting. Allow yourself only from 1 p.m. to 8 p.m. to look at these things. Intermittent fasting of the mind, not just of the body. You cannot do this alone. What I'm talking about is so hard, you cannot do this alone. You need to first and foremost, you need to ask Allah for help with this, because this is really incredible. I mean, look at the hadith, the dua I started with. Allahumma atina nufusna taqwaha wa zakkiha anta khayru man zakkaha anta waliyuha wa mawlaha. You're imploring Allah to help you. Allahumma la takinni ila nafsi tarfata ayn. Don't leave me to my nafs for a blink of an eye. You need to implore Allah for help. It's that hard, right? And surround yourself with the right people. Surround yourself with people who are doing things like this. And last thing, I can't not mention, like everyone else, Gaza. And the images that I see, and I think to myself, like I don't have, I'm not a nation. I cannot send, even though I daydream of, a country sending their navy into Gaza. I do not have that control. But I do remind myself that Allah will not change an ummah until you change yourself. I think, to me, that is the most practical. Like, you can donate, not too difficult. You can go to a rally, not too difficult. You can post something on social media, that's okay. Doing what I'm talking about is incredibly difficult. This is jihad al-nafs. Okay. just a quick call to action. I didn't talk about 114 too much, but what we've tried to do is create a tribe. Like all of the 114 stuff, and like including this T-shirt, you'll see conquer your nafs everywhere. That is the slogan of 114. That is the tribe that we're trying to create, and we're doing it through challenges that challenge your mind and challenge your spirit and challenge your fitness. Nobody, or very few people want to run, and even less people want to memorize Quran. The idea of memorizing Quran triggers your nafs to no end. And it forces you to change yourself. If you want to be someone who memorizes Quran, you cannot be somebody who looks at certain things. You cannot be somebody who listens to certain things. To memorize Quran, especially, I'm almost 50. At this age, it's incredibly difficult. You have to turn a lot of dials all the way down in order for you to memorize Quran. So we've organized challenges that the easiest level is memorizing Surah Al-Mulk, 3 pages, which I believe any Muslim can, and run 3.2 miles or walk, which I believe anybody can. Yasin, which is 6 miles and 10K, 6.2 miles and 10K. Surah Al-Kahf, and 13.2 miles. Surah Al-A'raf, which is 26 pages, and a full marathon. And then the cow, which is, as I said, 50 miles and Quran, and memorizing Surah Al-Baqarah. And for those who did that one, of which there have been 5 people so far, we've unlocked a new secret level called Prophet's Tahajjud, which is Baqarah, Ali Imran, Nisa, read in Tahajjud, and then you run 100 miles. No one's done that yet. Now, if this was interesting to you, and you want some more of this, this is the 114 New Jersey WhatsApp group. I'd love for you to join us. Like, we'll be this Sunday at Garrett Mountain, I believe. We'll be reviewing some Quran for half an hour, and then some people walk, some people hike, some people run. We have different people doing it. I would love to see some of you there. The event is in October, inshallah. Register for a race that actually scares you. If you go to this group, we can send you the link. Register for a race that your nafs hates the idea of. If you're thinking of doing the 3K in Surah Al-Mulk because you memorized it before, do Surah Yasin and the 6 mile. If that one is, okay, I think I can do that, then do Surah Al-Kahf. If you've done a half marathon, no Surah Al-Kahf, do Surah Al-A'raf. Pick something that actually scares you, and then, inshallah, you'll be surrounded by people that are here to support you. With that, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.
Barakallah feek. Jazakallah khair. I will say that alhamdulillah, I participated in the 114 event. It really is an amazing event. I encourage everyone to register, and you will definitely challenge yourself, whether it's on the mental side or on the physical side. So I really encourage everybody to attend. There are a few questions. I think we have a few minutes for a few questions. So one question very relevant to the topic that you discussed. If we're struggling in all parts of the self, whether it's the physical or the mental, and you wanted to improve ourselves, where do we start? I think you gave a couple of tips, but can you maybe just give a little bit more tips and what can we prioritize?
Mental and
if
physical?
We're struggling in all parts. Like
okay, the first thing, everyone is struggling in all parts. This is a struggle. A couple of tips is who you surround yourself with. One thing I've realized coming back to New Jersey, and by the way, before I say this, I love New Jersey. So don't think I don't love New Jersey. I mean, where else can you go to a diner at 3 in the morning? You know, it's incredible.
That's not good for you.
Yeah, it's not good for you. But, I mean, I'm just remembering my past, 20 years ago. One thing I've noticed is the isolation here. Is that, like in Istanbul, we live in a tiny city. Everywhere you have to walk to go to every place, right? There is no, here, everything. I feel like the algorithm is trying to keep you home. I don't know why. They're trying to keep you home and isolated, and everything comes to the house. Surround yourself with good people. Being alone is, I think, very dangerous and just not part of our tradition. The Prophet, who is the living embodiment of everything I just said, all the dials are turned to the right. He had Sahaba. He had good friendship. If the Prophet Sayyidina Muhammad had Sahaba, We definitely need this. When I'm alone is when I'm weakest. Tip number 2, beware post 10 p.m. I am amazing at my food until exactly 10 p.m. Then where's the chocolate bar? And I'll eat the entire chocolate. Something happens to my discipline after 10 p.m. I think we're supposed to be asleep at 10. My discipline wanes. I don't know why. And I'll eat an entire bar of chocolate. Beware of 10 p.m. You know, try to sleep early. A psychiatrist said that he believes that 80% of his patients' mental health issues, 80% can be solved by a good night's sleep. Sleep quality is really important. Sleep at 10, try not to sleep before that. Wake up early, try to stay awake. Your life will get a lot better. Surround yourself with very good people. Those are just 2 things I would say that really help.
Okay. Another question, how can I start my journey into running? Someone that's not a runner, any advice?
Yeah, great question. I'll give you the advice that was given to me when I was out of shape. And in the beginning, I could not run at all. I hated the idea of running. I actually thought it was very stupid. You know, had a busy job and my family, etc. And my boss told me, who got me into running, I want you to run 1 slow mile. A mile so slow that you can be able to talk to me the entire time. That's how I started. I ran a mile at 11 minutes, which is a very slow pace, but I ran it, and then I said, okay. And I told him, what do I do next? He said, run 2 miles at a slow pace. And so my advice to you is that run slow enough that you feel good at the end. You don't want to run fast enough where you're like, I really hated that. Like Buthayna. I saw Buthayna. Buthayna's here? Yeah. Buthayna hates running because she runs too fast. If she runs slow, she would like running, right? And so start with 1 mile. Like if you were to come with us on Sunday, just run 1 slow mile. That's it. You should be slow enough to be able to talk. Any other questions?
Any tips as far as just reducing phone addiction?
Yeah. First of all, no. And there's a really good book. I forgot the name of it. I think it's called Hooked. It's about the person who came up with the. First of all, no, everyone's addicted. You just have to create some friction between you and your phone. What do I mean by that? Just remove the app from your phone. I'm not saying don't use it. Like, don't use TikTok and all of those things. I'm just saying remove it from your phone. You use it when you're at your computer. Just create some friction. That's it. Just just remove one. And by the way, I don't have TikTok, but somebody sent me something, and then I went and opened TikTok and I downloaded it. I really wanted to watch that thing. Actually, my sister-in-law sent me something on TikTok, and I really wanted to watch it, so I downloaded TikTok in the airport. I ended up being on TikTok for 3 hours. I've never used TikTok. That's how powerful these algorithms are. I was like, oh wow, another video, right? The main tip I can give you is have no social media on your phone.
Jazakallah khair. One last question. Any tips in terms of eating healthier and getting back into shape?
Any tips on eating healthier? Okay, I once asked somebody, even though this is not my job, I'm a management consultant, everybody thinks I'm a fitness trainer. And so somebody in Istanbul is like, I heard you're the guy to go to get in shape. I said, okay, tell me your relationship with food. And he said, what do you mean? I said, what's your relationship with food? And he got really quiet and he said, when I'm sad, I eat. When I'm happy, I eat. When I celebrate, I eat. After I fight with my wife, I eat. When we make up, we eat. Every trigger he had, the solution was eating. So the first is to understand what your relationship with food. So I have a rule for myself. I only eat dessert when I'm celebrating something. Like, not as an automatic thing, thing for. And so first you have to understand your relationship with food. And the thing about Muslims is we don't have many halal outlets. And food is our main halal outlet. And so the first thing is, I think, what is your relationship with food? Do you eat when you're sad? Do you eat when you're happy? And so, yeah, that's probably the first thing. Because if you don't understand what triggers your need for that quick dopamine, then it's going to be very hard to change it. That's it?
Yep, I think with that we can end it there, inshallah.
Khalas.
Jazakallah khair, everyone, for coming tonight. Brother Ahmad, Jazakallah khair for all these insightful tips. May Allah reward you. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Come on Sunday.